Welcome back to another episode of whysosidious, a nerd podcast, where we ride from Dragonstone to Flea Bottom and all the way to the Red Keep. Joining me today are my co-hosts, Jeremy and Dave. Don't forget to follow us on social media at whysosidiouspod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're constantly uploading new reels, polls, fun videos to watch, so please check it out. But on today's episode, we are covering the premiere of the new HBO series, The House of the Dragon. Showrunners are Miguel Sapochnik and Ryan Condal, and this episode was directed by Miguel as well. And we got some news today that the first episode drew 10 million viewers, making it the biggest premiere in HBO history.
I heard it crashed. Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with that, but I heard HBO crash last night.
Yeah, right.
Before you continue listening to this episode, this is your official spoiler warning. So if you've not seen the content that we are about to cover, go ahead and go watch it real quick before you continue on. Or don't, I guess. Your call.
All right, well, before we deep dive into this episode, we're just going to give some quick overall thoughts. And JD being the one of the crew that hasn't dived into Fire and Blood yet, I want to get your thoughts on the show first, just a fresh look. So, JD, how'd you think?
Okay, yeah, I'm really pleased with the episode. Man, it's like, I was wondering if it would have the Game of Thrones feel. It absolutely did, especially a lot of oh shit moments that Game of Thrones is known for. It delivered in the first episode. Overall, it just brought me in, I'd say, quicker than the first episode of Game of Thrones by far. Like, I feel so invested in this family and to see where they go. I'm excited to see what happens with them. Shout out to Miguel, the director. Like, if it's not Benioff and Wise, I was just curious, like, but he pulled it off. You know, it totally feels like Game of Thrones. Rhaenyra, I thought she was going to be a repeat of Dany, the way she looked in the trailers, but she was not. She's very unique and different. Her story is different. Her acting and character is different. So I'm just overall really pleased. It actually exceeded my expectations.
Nice. Same here. Dave, how'd you think?
Well, real quick, I just want to say before we get into anything, I'm so hyped we're able to do this series like this. Like, obviously, Game of Thrones is insane. It was a masterpiece. But we get the spin-off series, and we get to cover it on our podcast. And I just feel grateful for the timing of that series and for us having this podcast to talk about this show. I'm just most excited I've been to record an episode has been this one.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, overall, I was very pleased with the episode. Right from the start, it had that Game of Thrones feel. Most of the costumes, I'll get to that later. But the makeup, set work, all that top-notch quality that matched Game of Thrones. The difference, like JD mentioned, the difference between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon is that House of the Dragon was able to jump right in, whereas Game of Thrones, season 1 was pretty slow. Lots of names, backstories, characters to learn, not a whole lot of action and spectacle. Whereas this thing just dove straight in. I mean, holy crap. Brutal violence, like at the very top of some of the most violent Game of Thrones episodes. We got the dragon. The very first scene is a dragon flying over King's Landing, which was something we had to wait for 8 seasons to finally see in Game of Thrones. And we saw that in the second scene, the first after the credit, or after the opening title. So we just got to dive straight in. It was so cool seeing all these characters brought to life from the Fire and Blood book. So every time a new character is mentioned or anything like that, it was just really cool. And I will say it was a bit much for a premiere as far as violence and tough scenes to watch goes. The episode was maybe even harder to watch than Red Wedding, but it was an amazing episode. So overall thoughts, I freaking loved it.
I will say I loved how isolated it was. Whereas Game of Thrones season 1, I'm pretty sure even Daenerys was introduced in the very first episode, right?
Yeah.
So you had like Winterfell, King's Landing, across the seas with Daenerys, but whereas this is just focusing on one single family, and I think that benefited a lot for us just to be able to catch on immediately.
Totally.
But one of the things the show did very well is it's a new story, but it still kept it familiar at the same time. Like, just saying, going back to King's Landing immediately, we have the same score, basically the same guy doing the score, and there's a lot of the same themes with a little remix to it, which I loved. But yeah, just the writing, the acting, the world and lore building, costumes, and that first shot of Rhaenyra flying over the King's Landing was just amazing. Perfect start to the episode.
I have a question. So do you guys know where this is going? Are you already spoiled with some of these characters and you kind of know their fate?
I kind of forgot most of the main, like, I know something like when people die, but I don't remember how or when.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I forgot because I didn't even do the half recap like you did, Love, which I know you stopped before it really got into the meat of what's happening in the show. But yeah, I was saying, like, even with the whole pregnancy scene and all that stuff and the birthing and yada yada yada, I didn't like recollect like, oh, she dies here, or oh, the baby ain't gonna, nothing like that. Like, I wasn't remembering anything, so it felt like all the names I was like, oh, word, yeah, him. But the events I keep forgetting. So it was almost like a new experience.
I knew that the mom and baby weren't going to make it.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking in my head, I was telling JD, I was like, well, there's no heir. This is between Damon and Rhaenyra, so obviously it's not a boy. And then they announce it's a boy. I'm like, okay, well then, you know,
Right.
What happened. And I was like, all right. But yeah, it wasn't clicking in my head.
All right, before we deep dive into this episode, I'm just going to go through a quick summary and then a couple references that were made. This episode starts with the Great Council of 101. We have adult Rhaenyra narrating this scene. It's a very good start to the episode. And obviously, Viserys is declared the heir over Rhaenys and her son. And Harrenhal was amazing in this scene. We have some fresh fire burns, but it is overall a lot larger than it was in the Game of Thrones series.
That was Harrenhal. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked really good. It almost looked like
Right.
a practical set. Like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of it was probably CGI, but it looked really good.
And then moving on to 9 years later and 172 years before the events of Game of Thrones, we have a beautiful shot of Rhaenyra on Syrax over King's Landing. And then we get a scene with Viserys' small council. And on the small council, we have Otto Hightower as the Hand. Daemon Targaryen is the commander of the City Watch. Lord Beesbury is Master of Coin. Lionel Strong is Master of Laws. Grand Maester Melos is obviously the Grand Maester. And we have Corlys Valerian, Master of Ships. And they're discussing that there will be a great tourney for his soon-to-be newborn and fully healthy heir. The melee goes on with just a few brutal deaths, with Sir Criston Cole taking out Daemon Targaryen at the end of the day. Meanwhile, the birth of Viserys' heir does not end well for all parties. Dracarys.
Mm.
Immediately after, the small council debates on who should be the heir, Daemon or Rhaenyra. Otto takes the opportunity to pimp out his underage daughter to the king, who does help him grieve. After Viserys finds out what Daemon supposedly said in his speech, he exiles him and chooses his daughter Rhaenyra as heir, telling her the great Targaryen prophecy to unite Westeros against the cold dark from the north. And there were a couple references made. I want to, just in case you, a little extra info. When Viserys and Lady Emma were talking before the labor, she's saying that Rhaenyra thinks it's going to be a daughter, and she's already named her Visenya. And Viserys goes, "We already have a Visenya." And of course, Visenya is one of the two sister wives of Aegon the Conqueror. She is definitely the warrior of the two. Like, she single-handedly conquered the Vale by herself.
Did she wield Dark Sister?
Yeah, that's her sword.
Okay.
So she, like, basically should get as much credit as Aegon for the conquering of the Seven Kingdoms. He was really in love with his other wife, with his other sister, who was like the prettier one. She was like the badass sister. And also, she is the mother of Maegor, who in the small council meeting, they said if Daemon becomes king, he could be, Maegor the Second. And Maegor is probably the most evil king in all of Targaryen history. He is the one who saw the Red Keep finish, and then he held a feast for all the builders and killed them because only the Targaryens could know the secrets of the Red Keep. And, his whole reign was full of evil. So that was the reference of Daemon being the next king. He could be like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think since everyone on this crew thoroughly enjoyed the episode, let's get through a couple of dislikes first. Now, the main thing for me was the C-section scene. It was a little, I feel like they could have cut it off a couple seconds earlier and would have had the same
Impact.
impact.
Multiple seconds, like a minute.
Like, I understand, like, put like the trauma of what a woman would go through in medieval times and stuff like that. But it was like I was squirming, turning away from the TV. And there were also, like, it was pretty gory all around. There were a lot of, in the melee or the tourney, when the guy gets his head bashed in. And then just another thing was the wigs. Like, Corlys Valerian's wig is bad.
So
like,
bad.
It doesn't look like dreadlocks at all. And then even Viserys and Daemon at times, it's like, like, it doesn't look right.
I had issues with Daemon's like the whole time.
Dave, what were your biggest dislikes with this episode?
Yeah, I agree with the wigs. The wigs, half of them look good, but half of them I'm just staring at the wig line the whole time. Like, I can see where they put that on his forehead. Like, I can see Daemon is wearing a wig very obviously. And yeah, Corlys's was just, it's the same thing. The same thing with Mordo and Doctor Strange and stuff. They just have not gotten the dreadlock wigs look down. But that was a nitpick. Another nitpick was just kind of about the dragons. It was dope seeing them. There were just a few scenes where it just didn't look as good as Drogon. So I guess that's a high bar to put. And he's a darker color. It's easier to blend in with the color scheme and everything to kind of make it not stand out as much as CGI. But Rhaenyra's, when it was walking into the dragon cave and stuff like that, it was a little goofy. When Daemon's dragon took off, it looked a little goofy. But I expect that to be better. So that was just a nitpick. My main thing was also the C-section scene. I just... Bro, it was just disturbing, man. It was like not necessary. Like, again, I get it. I get the parallels too. You're showing men at war and you're showing her going to the women's war during that time where she's going through brutal medieval standards of labor. So I get that. But dude, we don't need to see an entire non-consensual medieval C-section up close and personal. Like, we just don't need to see that to get the gravity of the scene. Like, before they even got to it, I was like, oh, this is messed up. Like, she's not down with this. This is like, I get it. This is awful. But holy crap, we don't need to see it that much in detail for that long. And they intertwined it with the scene with Daemon and Sir Cole. And so I missed half that fight because halfway into it, I started turning all the way around in my chair because I was like, bro, I can't watch this. Like, I do not want to see this. And then I hear swords clanging and then I turn around and look and then it's back to reaching inside her. It's like, why? Miguel, why? I just thought that was so over the top. So yeah, that was my biggest dislike. And Viserys kind of felt a little out of place. The actor himself, I didn't mind him. I actually like him and his performance is good. But like you were mentioning, he kind of doesn't look like he should have blonde hair. And it was just, he just kind of didn't, felt out of place a little bit. But again, that was a nitpick too. My biggest issue was that scene and seeing a guy's balls get cut off and thrown on a stump. Like, it's good God, man.
Yeah, he's a great actor, but he looks more like a Baratheon or a Stark.
Yeah.
JD, what were your biggest dislikes with this episode? Anything we didn't touch already?
Man, I think I'd be a bad critic because when I sat back and watched this, I just enjoyed it the whole time and I just really embraced the suspension of disbelief and I just literally watched it and enjoyed it. Didn't come across with one single nitpick, of course, except that scene, which I have a lot of thoughts about it. Like, it was brutal. I don't think it was as bad as the Red Wedding, but what made it, because I mean, she had this baby stabbed out of her. I mean, not only was it not consensual, but it was brutally forced on her. Visually, yeah, the C-section here, it was longer. It drew out a really long time. I could see him making that decision just to make it so impactful to the point where people are talking about it for days, maybe weeks. Because if you didn't show that scene, it would not have been as impactful, even though he showed too much of the scene where it's like, and it was disturbing because King Viserys made that decision for her and she didn't know what was happening. And he was sitting there saying, you know, I love you. And she's sitting there saying like, what's going on? What's happening? And she starts losing it. And that was like the most disturbing thing for me. It wasn't fun to watch her get cut open, but it was just the fact that she had no idea what was going on. He made this decision for her, and the whole thing was just so disturbing.
But that's kind of my point. Like, the worst part about it came across before they started ripping her apart. You felt that emotion when he made that decision and they slid her and she had no idea what was going on. And he's saying, I love you. Like, they could have stopped it right there. Even when the guy's saying, we'll make our first incision. But they cut back to that thing 3 more times for like a minute and a half. And the pregnancy stabbing was bad. But we straight up watched somebody rip into this girl's stomach and pull the baby out and watch the whole thing up close. I'd rather watch a pregnant belly get stabbed 5 times than that scene. I just, that one scarred me.
Man,
I don't know.
I just think
that one scarred me.
When that happens in the red wedding, I just imagine that baby getting stabbed, and that's what really makes it terrible.
But you had to imagine it. You didn't have to actually watch it on screen like this one. Like,
right, but the
we
baby's
actually
not
watched
getting
it.
Except the baby's not actually getting stabbed here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just, man. I mean, that was a horrible scene too. Don't get me wrong. I personally, this one messed me up.
Yeah. I wonder if Miguel has witnessed a couple births himself, because like in general, that shit changes you. You're like, holy cow. So he might have had just that little extra level of comfort displaying that to an audience. Because if you've never seen a live birth, you're not anywhere near comfortable going or seeing anything like that. Obviously, seeing a live birth is much different from the brutality of the C-section. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, overall, absolutely disturbed by it. That was one of the most disturbed I've ever been watching a television screen.
Yeah, it was tough.
Well, moving on to things we like. Let's talk about King Viserys while we're on the topic. Now, he has big shoes to fill. He comes after King Jaehaerys, who ruled for 55 years with just a couple bumps in the road. So he can't just do whatever he wants. And it shows him being cut by the throne. He has this infected cut on his back, which of course, if the throne cuts you, you are not meant to sit it.
Mm-hmm.
It shows him kind of being weak, but he also will stand up for himself. He's a people pleaser. Like when he decides to when he makes that decision with his wife, he's thinking about the whole realm on his back, trying to find an heir. Like, he wants to just get this thing over with. If he has a son, it's easy, it's over with. No more like pain and hardship.
Yeah, no more chaos and division between the realm too. Yeah.
But at the same time, he's a very wise king, and he's passionate about the history. Like, he knows the past, he's taking this very seriously, all of it. He's different from the kings we got in Game of Thrones. But Robert Baratheon was, didn't even want to be king. Yeah. I mean, what was still the best? The best one we got out of the whole show was him, and he was a horrible king. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was followed up by Joffrey. So
right,
and then Cersei, and
then Daenerys for a minute.
I guess Tommen for a split second until he jumped out a window.
Yeah, I guess Tommen would be the best.
Tommen. Yeah.
So this guy reminded me of what Ned Stark might have been as a king. He just seemed like a cool, collective, reasonable dude that everyone seems to like. You know what I mean? It's like, what if Ned Stark was king? It might have been something like this guy. But it was the first time we saw a normal king without any super weird issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It shows that he loves his family, but he still, makes that bad decision. And he has a really good relationship with his daughter. But Dave, how do you feel? How do you like Viserys as the king?
So yeah, he's a good king, like you said, and like Daemon said at the end, you're weak, and he is. He's a bit of a pushover. So he's a good king. He's wise. I think Ned would be a bit more strong-willed. Just like even the scene where they walk in and Otto's telling him about what Daemon did with the gold cloaks the night before. And he's like, "Gods be good," and he's just shook. And then he sees Daemon there, and then Daemon's like, "Yeah, blah blah blah." He's like, well, yeah, he's enforcing my law. It was like he was kind of flip-flopping, and now that Daemon was there, he was kind of not acting disturbed by it anymore. And like Daemon said later, they all tell you what you want to hear. They all are playing on your weakness right now. I'm the only one who tells you the actual truth. It's like, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But as a whole, I liked him. I enjoyed his performance outside of the nitpickery. What I really liked was the scene with him and Rhaenyra in the caverns where the skull of Balerion is, where they had that conversation in front of the skull after he's made the decision about Daemon. And it was smart, he was talking to her and making sure she understood what the dragons meant to the Targaryens. Like, he had to know what her answer was for this before he went ahead and did this massive decision of naming her, a female, the heir of the Iron Throne. And she had the perfect answer, and it was basically, it's foolish to think they control the dragons. Like they, that power, the dragons are the thing that brought the doom of Valyria. Like it's a massive, incredible power. Like they need to respect it and not act like they own it. And then the cool thing about the whole long night thing, which was very interesting, I personally feel like that's a horrible strategy to only tell one king at a time, because what happens if homeboy gets killed and then Aegon's dream is dead? Nobody knows about the long night coming anymore. There's no more prophecy. So I feel like maybe tell a couple more people. But it was cool seeing that. And the whole time he's grasping that cat's paw dagger while he's saying the whole thing about the mighty evil that's coming in from the north. And of course, that's the same dagger that Arya ends up killing the Night King and ending that evil threat with. So there's a lot of poetic writing in that scene, which again, it's just something I saw a lot of this episode that brings me a lot of hope, because Game of Thrones had a lot of poetic writing along with all the political strife and the action and everything. And it seems like they've got this down. So yeah, I like the way he was written.
Yeah. And I mentioned what I thought about him. Like, it's refreshing to have a nice balanced king like that. At the same time, he just felt like he was going through the motions. Like he was there to fulfill a role. He was not a very bold character, of course, except for the decision he made for his wife. But yeah. Probably goes back to the thought, because I was wondering what made him weak, why Daemon would call him that. Dave kind of just laid it out, and yeah, like that scene, he did kind of show some weakness when he was shocked about what Daemon did. Then all of a sudden he was neutral about it almost. But overall, it just seems like he's just there. You know what I mean? Not a super bold character in one way or the other, which makes me wonder if that's kind of what a good king in some ways could be. If he's not too bold of a character, he's not going to make terrible decisions, but he's also not going to make, you know what I mean? I don't know. He just seems like just a decent neutral king, but
neutral.
Not,
it's a good word. Yeah.
Just not super interesting.
Yeah.
And this decision will haunt him for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? Well, dude, and I didn't recognize that the baby made a little choking sound. I didn't, like, all of a sudden the baby came out, and then I saw him on the stack of wood to get cremated, or whatever you call it. You know what I mean? So when I saw the little baby wrapped up, I was like, wait, what? Did they?
Yeah, they didn't. They totally didn't. And even when I heard the noise, it skipped to the next scene. It was like he held the baby, and then you kind of heard like a kind of thing, and it skipped to the next scene. It was exactly like that.
Babies make sounds, man. That doesn't automatically make you assume that's it for him. He's a goner.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. Like, I went to the next scene. I was like, was that a choking noise? What was that? And then the only next thing we see is it's on the pyre. I was like, oh my God, it was. Apparently he was choking. Like, good Lord. It didn't say anything about how it died. Got a phone call.
It's our listeners. They're sending in comments.
We have a listener on the phone. All right. What did you think about it?
I love the episode. It was the best.
Say, Mr. Hanky?
I'm the real boy.
Apparently, King Viserys just chose to have a C-section, and apparently he turned out to be not a very good dude, and apparently it disturbed me.
All right, cut this guy off the line.
Anyways. Okay, but right after the death of his wife and son, you get the council is immediately talking about who the next heir should be. And this is probably one of his strongest moments of the episode. He goes, "My wife and son are dead. I will not sit here and suffer crows that come to feast on their corpses." Just stands up and walks out. Like, they're just immediately talking about what's next. Like, who gets the next power move?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I cannot take this right now.
Not gracefully at all either. Like,
no.
The way they were discussing it, it's like, dude, shut up.
All right, let's move on to Daemon, probably the most interesting character of the episode. We first meet him sitting on the Iron Throne. He later says he wants to be Hand and wants to be by his brother's side. He is upset at the funeral. You can tell he feels for what's going on. He's a little vulgar, but he does speak the truth. But at the same time, he is definitely not king worthy.
No.
He also has an estranged wife. He has not been, seeing at all. She lives in Runestone. So, JD, do you think Daemon wants to be king, or does he want to, be by his brother's side? What are his true intentions?
Yeah, he wants to be king. That dude was sitting on the Iron Throne like he owned that thing when Arya came in there.
But he told his brother, I need you I want to be by your side. Do you think that's just so he could be close to the throne, basically?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not that simple with him, though.
I don't either, but I do think he loves his family. And if he's not king, he does want to be by his brother's side and do right by him.
Yeah, it felt genuine.
Yeah.
But both ways. I think he was, it would help the hand he was dealt out a lot more if he was the hand of the king, but I feel like it was still genuine. Like he really was hoping he would ask him to be the hand of the king all those years and that he would be there to protect him from himself.
Yeah. I think he would do right by his brother, but overall wants the throne.
And of course, he is commander of the City Watch, and we get that scene of him slaughtering all the flea bottom criminals. And we get the pretty dope scene before that when he says, "When I took command of the watch, you were stray mongrels, starving and undisciplined. Now you're a pack of hounds, sated and honed for the hunt."
Yes.
And this is where Daemon is most comfortable. You can tell, like, he's in his element when he is out on the battlefield about to kill some people. Like,
Totally.
There's a scene later in the brothel where right before, when he's looking around, it's after the death.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking around. He's just like, he's upset for a while.
So that scene when he started tearing through the criminals was kind of abrupt. I could have used a couple short scenes showing what some of these people were doing, like maybe show someone raping somebody. No, I don't want to. I don't want to see someone getting raped.
Let's see a few rapes or so. Let's
cut that.
You know what I mean? But something to make you feel like these people deserve it, because it came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's tearing through them all.
Dude,
but
it was
you got
so abrupt. Oh my gosh!
They cut off the heads for the murderers, the hands for the thieves, and we got a set of testicles for the rapist.
That was so... I couldn't even tell what it was. I had asked Lub. I was like, what? Wait, what is that? I think that's his ball sacks. Like, oh, no, I wish I didn't ask. That scene, though, regarding Daemon leading them, so I didn't realize... I guess it kind of knocked a memory loose, that Daemon actually was the founder of the Gold Cloaks nickname. So they were the City Watch, but Daemon actually, when he took over the City Watch, he handed every man a gold cloak. So what we just saw there was the very first night of the Gold Cloaks in action. And that is what they did. Like, that was the first time the Gold Cloaks ever stepped into the city and did their thing. And that was the first event that the Gold Cloaks partook in. That's gnarly. That scene was intense. And
him having the Gold Cloaks by his side does come in handy in the future. Like, they're loyal. They're loyal to him. You can tell.
Mm-hmm. No matter what. Yeah. That speech at the beginning was a good way to kind of show that, He goes, the city will learn to fear the color gold. It's like, oh my God.
And later we got the great scene in the throne room. We got talking about earlier, where he says he would protect Viserys if he was by his side. Protect him from himself and his council of leeches. But after Viserys finds out what he supposedly said, he orders him back to Runestone, and he's not going back, I'll tell you that. But do you think he actually said it? It cut away to where only you see Otto saying it, who is clearly against everything Daemon.
Yeah.
So and Daemon doesn't admit to it. He says everyone mourns in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly he was making a bad jest on the, instead of being by his or his daughter or his niece's side.
Mm-hmm. It was a celebration for sure. Like Otto said, he said the event was, as reports say, a celebration, which, yeah, it was. He wasn't going crazy at the beginning. He was kind of in his own thought when that scene started. Like, he kind of looked like he was out of it until they started chanting him and, saying speech, the prince is going to speak, all that stuff. But yeah, I was thinking about that. And when on the rewatch, I saw Otto sends a raven to Old Town right before that whole scene takes off, which is always an indication of a plot or a scheme.
Littlefinger vibes.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
that's always an indication. And so that happens, and then that scene kicks in, and then Otto's immediately reporting, saying there are 3, witness accounts and stuff. And it's like, I don't think he did, but I don't think Daemon...
And he's sending his daughter to the king. Like, he's scheming and he's plots and schemes.
Yeah, that fool is sketchy. He's got so much stuff up his sleeve. Like, I do not trust him.
Totally has Littlefinger vibes, 100%.
Good actor. That's the lizard from Amazing Spider-Man, by the way, who plays Otto Hightower.
Oh,
Reese,
I did not
Reese
notice
Davies,
that.
I think. Reese. No, it's not Reese Davies, but it's Reese something. Reese Afons.
JD, you got anything else on Damon for us before we move on?
Yeah, so Damon's cool. I can't decide if I like him or dislike him. He did some questionable things, like including jousting a freaking horse leg out from underneath it.
Apparently that was
Dirty
allowed.
move.
Like everybody was just fine with that.
The rules are not clear for sure because they just start killing each other sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And overall, though, he's a super interesting character. So I'm really excited to follow his journey. When I first saw him in the trailer, I didn't get a great read on him. It just didn't seem like kind of an awkward dude. I don't know. But as the first few scenes he was in, he showed he had great acting chops, and he's just very interesting. He's obviously very brutal. He loves his family, but he also has a lot of weird personality traits going on. So just as interesting is the best word I would use to explain him.
Yeah, I need to see more redeeming scenes with him because the first episode was a lot of bad stuff. But then at the end, he speaks the truth to Viserys, and it's like, okay, here it is. And then he's upset at the funeral. There were a couple things, but mostly it was like, damn, bro, like you're celebrating the death of, because he wants
his meter's still in the red a bit until we, see something else. But there was, again, it wasn't pure like this guy, like it wasn't a Joffrey level character. Right. It's like, this guy's just the worst. Like,
right.
He has layers. But so
just like everyone.
If we get into spoiler territory, like I'm curious personally, from you two who have read the books, is he overall a good guy, or is he more of a villain, or is it kind of still always bouncing back and forth?
I feel like all the Targaryens were like not good or bad, except for a few. Except for a spare few that were all good and all bad, like Maegor. I don't know. I felt like there was always a little bit of both sides to the Targaryens. Don't tell me anything too much.
No, he's more. Yeah, he's complex. He has some redeeming qualities. Future seasons. Okay. It's not gonna be this bad the whole time.
Okay.
Depending on how they do it.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. But that's hilarious. That's a good way to put it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the main part of this episode, the tourney. This was major season 1 Game of Thrones nostalgia. The beautiful camera angles. You really got to see the force of the blows. Like it was like POV on the lances.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really brutal deaths, and there was some master editing in between the tourney and the birth. It gets more tense as the labor goes on. There were some notable sigils / houses in the tourney. The ones I noticed were there was a Baratheon, Lannister, Stark, Bolton, Hightower. Probably a couple more that I didn't notice.
They mentioned Tarly and Dondarrion. Okay. They mentioned both those names too when they were talking.
Even a Stark at some point, not during the tourney, huh?
I don't know. I thought we saw that, but then I went to watch the second time, and it looked like it was one of the Raven sigils, the black and white. But it was a Stark.
Yeah, he was standing right next to the Lannister.
Okay. Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah. That was cool. What a cool lineup shot, like you were saying, like just seeing all the house sigils all lined up.
And just going back to Daemon in the dirty move he had on Otto Hightower's firstborn son. And then immediately after that, he goes up to his daughter, asks her for his favor.
Yeah.
Just a total insult on Otto.
Like a day after giving him crap about his wife being dead.
Yes.
Like,
wait, didn't Daemon seem like not incompetent, but he was pretty neutral? Like, it's not like he dominated his fights. That one guy,
he got his ass whooped.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he lost twice. He got knocked off by the High Tower, and then he ended up losing.
Well, he lost his lance to the High Tower.
Sir Cole. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting seeing one of our main characters not just dominate everybody, which is refreshing because it's something that's not like a repetition of every other movie or show.
Yeah, he handled the loss pretty well too.
Yeah, he got up in a pretty.
He didn't try to kill somebody like the Mountain or anything. After he kind of had a little smirk on his face when he got up.
Right.
Yeah. I like his armor. He looks like a freaking Elden Ring character.
Dude. That armor is so clean. Like, what the hell? On top of Damon's armor, bro, I just love seeing Dark Sister. Dude, in it, Dark Sister totally looks how it sounds. Like, it looks menacing. Like, the pommel on it and everything, and the handle, like, it straight up looks like a menacing weapon. So it was dope to see him using that. I'm surprised he didn't cut through Sir Cole's armor when he was hitting him with it, because that's Valyrian steel. I figured, it cuts through anything. But it was cool seeing that, and just mainly the names, just the Tarly, Dondarrion, all that stuff. It was super cool. Just easy way to make it really feel like Game of Thrones, but it was done well.
Yeah. I don't have a lot on the tourney. Yeah, it was fun. Good action scene.
That death was brutal. Oh, bro.
Yeah.
He got his head caved into a crescent moon. But then in the background, the stable boys just projectile vomiting, just in the corner throwing up. Like,
that was funny.
Like, that's realistic as hell. I'm almost throwing up.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the heir to the Iron Throne, Rhaenyra Targaryen. One of her first lines is, she'd rather be in battle. A lot of Arya vibes from her, from that line. And her mom says, the child bed is our battlefield. And then, you stink of dragon. It was a pretty funny line. You get Rhaenyra and Alicent in the Godswood. There's a good banter between the two of them. You get your different views on who should be the heir and, how they should see things. A little history lesson with Nymeria, which was kind of cool. A little Easter egg. Yeah. Which could be a show. Also another spin-off show coming up, Nymeria and the 10,000 Ships.
Oh, yeah. That's
what
right.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That'd be cool.
And seeing the Godswood was also really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just going to say real quick, just about Alicent, you kind of get a sneak peek about her mind, how politically inclined she is. Like, you could tell she's got that in her mind, so she's going to be doing some stuff down the road.
Yeah, it was planting seeds for their future together, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we got a powerful scene at her mother's funeral where, Viserys can't do it. For some reason, she has to do it. She can't even say it at first. She and stops and looks up. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
And she's been the king's cupbearer since the age of 8. So she's, she's been trained for the job without him knowing the whole time. She's been there for every council meeting. She's obviously the best person to be heir.
Yeah.
Viserys says, I've had an heir the whole time and I just didn't see it. Daemon wasn't made to wear the crown, but I believe you were. The Iron Throne is the most dangerous seat in the realm. It seems like some of the lords of Westeros aren't fully on board with this, but it's his best option by far because it's her or Daemon.
Right.
And this also sets up the entire series, this first episode. The bloody struggle for the Iron Throne. So, JD, how do you think Rhaenyra being heir to the Iron Throne will go in this first season? Like, there's obviously going to be some struggle. It's not going to be a clean path.
Yeah, I imagine it as what Dany would have been as a young queen before she broke bad. I think she's going to deal with a lot of struggle and she's going to learn a lot early on. And I think she has the roots to be a really good queen, but we are going to see her go through a lot of, struggles. So she's going to have a tough road for a little bit, and then she's going to take hold of it really well and fit into her position really well. Be very competent.
Yeah, because you could tell the Baratheon guy, Lord, he hesitated for a second.
Yep.
And then the look on the Stark's face when he was saying it, he was not down at all. Like, he was just saying it because he had to, because these Targaryens have dragons. He does not want to get burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
But Dave, how do you feel about Rhaenyra as the heir? And as character, just as a character.
As a character, I really liked her. She gave me major Arya vibes, especially with that scene when she's talking to her mom, and her mom says, this will be the battlefield for you. And she's like, I'd rather be out on the battlefield fighting for glory. And she's already riding dragons and stuff, obviously she's got that whole playful and adventurous, spirit where she doesn't want to be bogged down and stuff. So she gives me major Arya vibes and Dany vibes. I enjoy her. I think it's a bummer we're not getting this actress for the entire series because she's really good. So that's kind of a bummer. I understand it, but that's a little little downfall about it all. But I really like her, and I think she'd be a great ruler based on everything we've seen so far. She's smart, like she's discerning about stuff, but she wouldn't be afraid to, step up and put herself on the front lines when things go down.
So I was confused about it because I just noticed a different actress plays Rhaenyra, and I didn't realize that it's going to skip time. And so we aren't going to get this actress the whole time. It's going to be a new actress. How many years later-ish?
I don't know.
Like
10
years probably.
Okay.
So
Yes.
And I'm not exactly positive when the time jump happens. I'm hoping it's like halfway through the season at least, because it said that this is planned to be 3 to 4 seasons total.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the whole series is 3 to 4 seasons. So I hope we get, at least half a season with this young cast.
Yeah, because I really liked her. And then as soon as we got the sneak peek, I realized that it might not be the case for the whole series. So yeah, interesting.
Anything else on Rhaenyra?
She did look a bit overwhelmed during that ceremony, and almost it was hard to get a kind of read on her, how she was feeling during that whole ceremony of naming her the heir. But it did look like she was a little nervous. I mean, God, can you imagine? I can't.
Yeah, imagine the spotlight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're breaking hundreds of years of tradition, and people aren't happy about it. To top it off, even if they were accepting of you, that would be incredibly nerve-wracking to be going through that. But you throw that in, man.
I'm surprised they did it in the first episode. Like, if they're breaking such a long-standing tradition, I would expect more development leading up to that moment. Even though they did a good job for an episode, you'd think it would have it would have taken a few episodes to develop it.
Yeah, I was surprised it happened so quick too.
That is true. They did throw a lot. There was a lot happen in the first episode, really.
Yeah, man. That was a jam-packed episode.
But it's still, it's not like, King Viserys dies tomorrow. It's all,
Yeah.
It's not like, the next episode she's queen.
Right.
So things are still going to be slow played out. It's just, this is setting things up. Dude,
even if he didn't have this weird grayscale thing going on, whatever it is, like, I would imagine he would die just because he's a decent king. I think it's Game of Thrones. I'd figured for sure he's just gonna get killed.
Is that what you think it is? Grayscale? That's interesting.
No, I didn't think it was grayscale. It's similar, the way it's panning out.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, if it's something like that, or if it really was just the throne cutting him, and it's an omen of, you're not fit to be king anymore, kind of thing.
It's just that the wound isn't healing, So if it was a cut and it healed, it's different, but it's just not healing. It's getting worse. He'll get an infection and die or something.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like a cut. It looks like a freaking circle.
Yeah,
it's weird. Well, speaking of Rhaenyra being a little overwhelmed during the ceremony, she did just learn something pretty insane, which would be Aegon's prophecy. And where were they at? The dragon.
I thought it looked like the crypt or the caverns for the dragon skulls. I don't know what it's called exactly.
So in the dragon crypts, he tells her the prophecy. Ambition alone isn't what drove him to conquest. He foresaw the end of the world, absolute darkness. All of Westeros must stand against it, and a Targaryen must sit the Iron Throne. The Song of Ice and Fire. Passed down from king to heir. And the score in this scene was amazing. Just like classic Game of Thrones with a twist, like I said, but killed it. And this was George's idea. He told the showrunners about this, and they, put it in the show. And, Aegon spared as much life as possible when he was conquering. Like he only killed people that stood against him. If you bent the knee, he spared you. He wasn't just burning everyone down because he had this in mind.
Yeah.
And Jaehaerys built the King's Road for a reason. The king before them, he built a road from King's Landing all the way to Winterfell. And that was with reason, because he knew that one day that it would be needed. To where, Jaime Lannister could teleport in a couple of days after
He didn't know fast travel would be invented by then, He had no way of knowing. But didn't they? Who built the Castle Black? Because I know Targaryen traveled up there, and there's the Queen's Gate up there.
That's, the sister wives of Aegon.
Oh, that was that early. Wow. Okay, so they went up there and built that. Okay. I know it was a Targaryen who built Castle Black and all that stuff, and there were more entrances at the start of it all. There were more, sections than just Castle Black. There's a bunch of outposts.
Because one of the Castle Black outposts that is abandoned was named after a Targaryen queen who rode her dragon all the way up to the wall and was like one of the only Targaryen queen or kings to ride their Targaryens that far. So they named a whole outpost after her.
That's dope.
And, it's for the greater good, something that is bigger than all of us. And I actually really liked this tie-in. It was a good, subtle way to tie in this with the original series, but without, having to break any canon at the same time. It's just this thing passed down. And obviously, this died with the Mad King and Rhaegar because he wouldn't have told Viserys at that young of an age. And I guess Dany just, by happenstance, brought her dragons to fight it. So it was kind of like, prophecy fulfilled without her even knowing.
Right. She didn't even believe it.
Right.
Yeah. That's
as soon as they mentioned the Song of Ice and Fire, I had to double take, for a second. Whoa, he said it.
It's kind of weird. Sam's book is named the same thing, though.
Yeah, how did that work out that way?
He must have saw it in the Citadel.
Yeah, Targaryen must have wrote a journal. Kind of defeats the purpose about the secret, but...
And like you said earlier, when he's asking Rhaenyra the questions, one of her, her answer, everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than men, but that's just because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which really proves, she knows her shit. She's ready to do this.
Yeah, bro, she's wise for how young she is.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to add in for likes? Things you enjoyed about this episode?
Just little things. The dragons looked great. The CGI was awesome. When the dragons were up close, they looked amazing. When they were flying, you could tell they might have taken a half day. Maybe.
Yeah, you're right though. Up close, they're beautiful. Yeah,
they look totally real.
Yeah,
and the dragon pit workers, the one guy's practicing his High Valyrian. It shows him, training his son probably to how to, train dragons, which is a pretty cool little lore building.
Yeah,
and they even had little dragon mounts on them.
Yeah, they had saddles apparently, and Daenerys was just riding that thing raw. Oh God, no! I don't know. Terrible.
Jay, do you hear about that?
No.
When they asked Emilia Clarke how she rode the dragon because she doesn't have a saddle, she basically explained it as a hat on a hook.
Oh God.
Those are her words.
Hell of a way to explain it. Hell of a way to explain it.
Makes sense though. I mean, you're going to fall off otherwise.
Yeah.
Dave, anything else?
Yeah, I just thought the way they opened this was amazing, dude. Before the title rolled in, we get the Great Council, and what a way to suck us in and immediately make it feel like Game of Thrones. You're in Harrenhal, and the narrating, bro, the narrating was perfect. So that's older Rhaenyra who was narrating that. But the voice and everything mixed with kind of the somber music and the slow pace of the scene, it was just so well done, And then it ends with the king knew the cold truth. The only thing that could tear down the house of the dragon was itself. It's just like perfect, bro. I just thought they nailed that opening scene and important scene to have, So it was a great bar to start off the episode with.
The narrating gave me Galadriel vibes.
That's what we said. Yeah, that's what Love was saying. Sound exactly like Galadriel.
You've never had narrating in Game of Thrones anyway, so it had the old medieval feel with a nice, powerful woman voice in the background. Totally Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
And just another good little tie-in to the Game of Thrones series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I loved seeing them flying over Westeros, Westeros before it was destroyed. Like even the big religious dome that Cersei blew up, like everything was intact. So it just.
Or wait,
the Sept isn't built yet. That was the Dragon Pit.
That was the Dragon Pit. Yeah.
The Great Sept of Baelor is not built yet.
Okay, I kind of actually thought that is what that was.
Yeah, it's the Dragon Pit because the Dragon Pit is in complete ruins by the time the Game of Thrones series takes place.
Yeah.
Hey,
So that's
don't
what that
feel
was.
bad. I was telling Caleb, I was like, so is the red keep not constructed yet? Because like that's not the red keep. I was like, he's like, no, it was. They just didn't have the tower. I was like, oh, word, yeah, it looks way shorter. He's like, no, that's the dragon pit. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes way more sense. Because Aegon constructed the red keep. So yeah, I was even way further off about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. That was really cool seeing all the rooftops of King's Landing and just seeing that whole flying. Again, the first two scenes were perfect. Couldn't have asked for anything better. Also, Targaryens got to smell like ass. Because they keep saying you stink of dragon. And I started thinking about that. JD, you had a corn snake growing up. I had a corn snake, not, nearly as well grown. Snakes smell. Their terrariums smell pretty bad. I brought a king snake home one time. It was even bigger. It smelled even worse.
Same.
So reptiles smell horrible. I mean,
Plus
straight
fire.
up horrible. Yeah, so you
fire.
got this heated
Sulfur.
up giant
I was
dragon.
thinking sulfur,
Oh my god.
I was
Mixed
thinking
in with the
Yellowstone.
reptile.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. They probably smell awful.
Yeah.
One time in Montana, Mitch flew out and I picked him up in Bozeman. It was like midnight and we decided to drive through Yellowstone. And the way that the rivers are heated up at nighttime in like winter, it steams. The whole entire park is steaming. And at nighttime, you could see that. And we kept talking about it. This feels like we're driving through a damn dragon pit.
Yeah. Did it smell that bad too? Could you smell the sulfur?
I mean, Yellowstone, regardless, the sulfur smell, I mean, it just smells like rotten eggs throughout the whole national park there.
I
What
would
the Everglades smell like?
What's that?
The Everglades?
Never been.
I mean,
Florida?
Florida? Yeah, full of gators.
Just swampy. Swampy
Yeah.
ass smell. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into our expectations for the season following the premiere. Like I said before, my biggest thing is when will the time jump happen? I really want to know how this season is split up. But there has been great character development so far in just the first episode. I can't wait for more to see how all these characters, plots, or arcs turn out. There's so many great characters, you don't know their motives or their objectives yet. Like with Daemon and other members of the small council. Dave, what are your expectations for the season?
Yeah, man. So I'll just go with a couple specific ones. I expect, and again, I don't remember, so this could be dead wrong, and you might be thinking to yourself, you're way off. But I expect to see the whole Sir Criston Cole thing kind of pick up more. I feel like he's got to be a major player in this. I don't remember him from the books at all. I don't even remember that name, but I mean, he just unhorsed 2 Baratheons during that competition, and then he defeated Daemon on horseback and on the ground, like made him yield and stuff, and then he's got, Rhaenyra is crushing on him and all that. And then they mentioned that he was the son of the steward of Dondarrion, which Beric Dondarrion, leader of the Brotherhood, servant of the Lord of Light, all that stuff. So I feel like there was just a lot of like pretty important details surrounding him the whole episode, to where I feel like he's got to be a pretty big player down the road.
Not a huge player, but yeah, he stays relevant.
Okay.
Maybe like a Jack and Hagar style character.
Some like, I don't know. Or
like a Braun, but less vulgar and crazy, like a good side character.
Yeah, not a main character, but I feel like he's got to come into play a good amount.
He was in the sneak peek for the next episode. I don't know if it was for the rest of the season or the next episode, but they showed him.
Okay. I did check out the sneak peek recently, like right before we started, and at the start it said in the next few weeks. So I don't know if that was like the next 3 Okay. And then the other thing I expect to see is just a lot of Targaryens and important characters dying throughout. I mean, it's a Targaryen civil war. I feel like we're going to see some dragons going down heavy, some major players going down. Obviously not Daemon or Rhaenyra for a bit, or ever. I don't know what they're going to do in the show if it's going 4 seasons. But I feel like we're going to get the classic important characters getting killed off in unsuspecting ways. But overall, after the first episode, I'm just expecting a season of House of the Dragon that we can easily put up amongst any of the Game of Thrones seasons in terms of quality and entertainment and just overall. But yeah, it's going to be good, man. And dare I say, I think this is going to beat out Rings of Power and definitely Andor. But I'm ecstatic for the rest of this season, man.
Whoa, come on.
Andor's going to be great. Andor, I'm very excited for Andor, but this is just, man, it already seems like it's next level.
It is. JD?
All right, so I have a couple questions. One doesn't carry a lot of weight. How many dragons are alive in this age?
17.
I think there's a total of 17 in the series.
The
So that's
Targaryens,
badass.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
could expect a lot of that.
we're supposed
also
to see
heard-
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know about is it called the Triarchy?
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah,
So
the
from the
pirates
books-
at the beginning.
I was going to say, because apparently they just cause a lot of conflict with this Targaryen civil war. So I don't know if you guys with the books were super familiar. I don't know if they were really significant, but
I don't know if the triarchy itself, if that phrase was used, but I feel like the guy they were describing sounded somewhat
crab
familiar.
feeder?
The crab feeder. Yeah, it sounded
Yeah.
somewhat familiar, but again, I barely remember anything.
yeah. And in the sneak peek, we saw a lot of action with pirate-like characters. So
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that will be the biggest threat outside of the Targaryens against themselves. Will be them and the crab
Yeah.
feeder.
Had to
I
be a
wonder what they
reason.
want. Do they want to take over the throne, take over Westeros, or do they just want
I think it might
You-
have to
you-
do with the Corlys Valerian owning all the seas. You know,
Oh yeah,
all the ports.
yeah.
Maybe
he's-
they're trying to get some
Mhm.
ports or lands back that have been taken over.
which is why he was so interested in it. That makes way more sense now. How he was kind of pushing that topic and nobody was really picking up on it. That because
Right.
he's the what's his title again? The
Master of ships.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the Valerians are the richest house
Yeah.
in all of Westeros by far. Like loaded.
Yeah.
Just because they own all the ports and they're shipping all the inventory and
Mhm.
things people need in and out of everywhere.
And they don't have that giant scorpion machine developed, so I wonder if they would stand any chance against the dragons. They might have
Well,
something.
I think the Lannisters built that based on records from back in the day. So I think at
Word,
some point
okay.
scorpions were around. I don't know if it was around this age or not. I just remember they found some historical documents where they were like, oh, there's this machine that, does
Yeah.
this and that. And then they built it, but I don't remember when it was.
Yeah, I also wonder if the Targaryens already have a large naval power. If not, if they will develop a large naval power.
No, they trust in the Valerians for that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just excited. The
I know,
sneak
and
peek looks
I'm excited to see what
badass.
Daemon does
Yeah.
because he,
That's what I'm saying.
spoiler free, he doesn't just go back to Runestone and hang out with his wife. That's all I'll say. He does
Yeah.
he does some fun stuff and then he comes back.
Sweet.
Well, the sneak peek, he comes diving down on his dragon right next to this boat and almost tips it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He had a lot of conflict in the sneak peek there, so we're
Yeah.
going to get a lot of Daemon, and I'm excited.
Yeah. He ain't going to roll over.
All right, so JD, what was your rating for the premiere of House of the Dragon?
It's really high. I'd give it an 8.7, and it'd be higher, but I'm still feeling it out. But 8.7 is freaking solid,
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, man, I'd give it a 9.1 just because it blew my expectation. It felt like one of the really top quality Game of Thrones episodes. It might be a little too high right now just because of how excited I am for the rest of the series. It'd be higher if, again, that scene just messed. Be slightly higher if it wasn't as brutal all around. Not just that scene, but the balls being chopped off, and again, we just jumped into straight pure brutal violence, which again I don't hate to an extent. Game of Thrones obviously was incredibly violent, but it's a little too much for the first episode. But again, 9.1, loved it.
I got it at a 9.3.
Oh.
Same thing as you said, basically. Only the extreme brutality took it down for me. But just as an original story set in a world we already know, and as a premiere, it's one of the best premieres I've seen in recent history.
All
Like,
right.
for Disney Plus shows, anything like that. Like,
Absolutely.
this really got me excited for the rest of the season. It set everything up so well. We know a lot of things about the main characters already.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
So
dare I
that's-
say it was better than any first episode to a season of any Game of Thrones seasons, maybe. Like, it was insane for a first episode. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have to go back, don't quote me on that, but I feel like easily could be.
Don't quote you on it. All right. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. Don't forget to check us out on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Why So Sidious Pod. Don't forget to check out our future episodes. Stay subscribed to the channel so you can get all the updates for Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, and Andor. We'll be covering as much as we can for you and as often as we can, getting them all out. And I'd like to thank my co-host for joining me today, Davos, the master of ships.
I'll be the Onion Knight.
Oh, shit. And Jeremy. No, sorry. There's no...
He just gets Jeremy.
It's better than the Onion of Nights.
It is.
Oh,
I
I said
prefer David. The Onion of Nights sounds more interesting than the Night of Onions.
Nice.
Thank you. Please come again.